About a century ago, many states in the U.S. established permanent alimony, which means that if a couple splits up, the man is responsible for alimony payments for the rest of the woman's life. And the reason why they did that was because back in the day, men and women had completely different roles in society. The man would work, the woman would stay at home, and she would raise the children, and she was financially dependent on the man. Well, now times have changed, and even though times have changed, this type of law hasn't changed in many states. So recently, Bloomberg wrote about a man by the name of Ari Schochet, and he was married for about 17 years, and he split up with his wife. However, when he was in the relationship, he was making $1 million working in the financial industry. He was doing really well. When he split up, it turned out that he had to pay alimony payments that usually cost him about $78,000 a year. But then the economy went south. All of a sudden, he's not making as much money, but he's still required to pay the same amount of money in alimony payments. And also keep in mind, he's in New Jersey, and right now, there are permanent alimony laws on the books. They're trying to reform that, but that hasn't happened yet. And it's definitely problematic because a lot of people are now going in and out of jail as a result of these types of laws. In fact, Ari has been in jail 8 times in the last 2 years because of contempt of court, right, because he hasn't been able to pay the alimony payments.
So look, child support and alimony are different. Child support, somebody's got to pay it, right? Mm-hmm. And you got kids, it's both of your responsibilities, and you got to figure out how to chip in and have it make sense. Alimony is, in the words of the court that they often use, you're keeping her up in the lifestyle that she's become accustomed to. But you're not in that lifestyle anymore because you don't have a job. So that's mental. So now look, it depends on the circumstance. Is permanent alimony right in some certain circumstances? I think absolutely, right?
If you've been married for 30 years, 35 years, and you've been a stay-at-home wife and you've raised the children, and at this point it's nearly impossible for you to go out there and make enough money to make ends meet, then sure, permanent alimony makes sense. If you've been married for like 5-10 years and the couple is still extremely young and both parties can go out there and work and earn their own money, then no, permanent alimony does not make sense at all. Times have changed. Women can go out there and work. They don't have to be financially dependent on a man.
Let me just throw some numbers behind Anna's example. So let's say you got married at 25, you had a 30-year marriage, and you had a bunch of kids, and one of the people, whether it was wife or husband, made a decision. Now let's keep it real, it's usually the wife, to raise the kids, right? Mm-hmm. And they did not have a career because of that. Let's say you pay alimony for 10 whole years, but she's 65 at that point, right? Because you got divorced at 55, she's 65, and then you're like, good luck to you. What's she supposed to do, start over? That's nearly impossible, right?
Right.
So she can get a little bit of a job, but not the job she would have had. So in that case, permanent alimony makes sense. You got married for 5 years, 2 years, 3 years, and you got to pay her off for the rest of your life, even if you don't have the same job? Well, come on, anybody can see that that's not justice. That doesn't make any sense. Look, why don't we have simple laws where we say we're going to decide the case based on the circumstances?
Definitely.
And we're going to make human judgments, obviously.
So there are a number of different alimony reform bills that are being introduced in many different states, and they include different types of alimony that I want to make you guys familiar with. One of them is known as rehabilitative alimony, and that is to help an ex-spouse become self-supporting. So obviously it would be limited to about 5 years, barring unforeseen events. There's reimbursement alimony, so let's say you were married and one of the spouses supported the other's education, expecting to share the fruits of the earning capacity it created. That means that, okay, if you split up, then the spouse that paid for the education will pay you back. And then also there's limited duration alimony, and that would be awarded for no longer than half the length of a marriage of 5 years or less, with higher percentages for those approaching 10, 15, or 20 years. For marriages of 20 years or more, payments could last indefinitely. So this is all stuff that makes sense, right? Everyone deals with different circumstances, had different relationships, and as a result, the judge should make decisions based on those circumstances.
And I think what's important is a rebuttable presumption, meaning like we presume that it's going to work in this way or that way, but it can be rebutted. If we go to court and the judge listens and goes, oh, okay, it turns out in your case, this rule doesn't make sense, obviously he's got to have the capacity to make that decision. And for Christ's sake, I mean, I don't know anything about this guy, Ari. I don't know if he was a bad guy. By the way, I mean, his ex-wife must hate him. You keep sending him to jail?
I know.
8 different times you send him to jail when you know he doesn't have the money?
A lot of these laws that revolve around child custody or alimony or child support, they're totally slanted in favor of women, right? To a point where it's destructive for society. I mean, it doesn't make sense for the taxpayer to keep paying for the cost of incarcerating this guy because he can't pay his alimony payments. It's stupid. You got to be smarter than that. He's not a criminal. I don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy, but the one thing that I do know is permanent alimony does not make sense in this situation.
Absolutely. And look, in the old days, the balance was tilted way too much in the favor of men. You could basically say, I'm getting divorced. Good luck to you.
Yeah.
And women were screwed. I mean, what you had been raising the kids as that you were told to do back in the day.
Yeah.
And now how in the world are you going to support yourself?
So the
right?
pendulum swung in the other direction. Now we just got to like grab it and put it right in the middle so it makes sense.
Grab the pendulum, put it in the middle, okay? That's the Young Turks idea.